Hi, everyone. Welcome to Pro Opinion, where professional opinions enlighten current events. I'm Diane.
I'm Mel, Professor Mel for you.
And we are going to be talking about various current events in the next few episodes. And we just want to provide a professional or expert take on some of these issues. So today we have chosen a really timely and relevant topic, a really tragic one actually, that happened at the Michigan State campus yesterday, where a shooter, a gunman, shot the students that are on campus, open fired in a hall, an academic hall. And this gunman is not affiliated with the university whatsoever, but open fired, and most recent reports say he killed 3 students, critically injured 5, and then eventually also killed himself. And so this is one of the, I think, most important issues of our time. I mean, campus shootings seem to be happening very frequently now. And Professor Mel is an expert in criminal justice. And so that's why we've chosen this topic today. And maybe we can discuss some of these issues around gun safety or campus safety, gun control, I should say, and other issues around there. So what is your take on what happened at Michigan State?
Before I give my opinion, my professional opinion on the matter, this is really a very significant issue for us, for our family, because most of us are working in the university environment. You work as the communications associate director, and your husband, of course, is also a professor, and my wife also works in a university. So this is really concerning, and at the same time, a very sad event that happened last night here in the United States at Michigan State University. But crime on campus has been a long concern of most legislators as well as administrators. So the current solutions that we have right now are 2. One is the campus carry legislations that we have in several colleges and universities right now. And what that means is that they're allowing university persons or students and faculty and staff to be able to carry their weapons on campus. And the aim there is to be able to protect themselves whenever some shooting comes up. And it also works as a deterrent factor for those who might be potentially thinking of using a firearm in perpetrating their criminal acts on campus. And as we have seen yesterday, something happened at MSU, or the Michigan State University, that supposedly aimed to prevent it. Now, let me remind you that although MSU has no campus carry law right now, it also has a prohibition on the use or carrying of weapons in the schools. So it shows you that there's some problem with deterring these kinds of criminal conduct. The other kinds of solutions that we had was some time ago when there was a legislation that was passed called Clery Act. And the most important features of that act was to inform the campus community about what's happening as far as crime is concerned on campus. And it serves 2 purposes. One is for students and parents to be aware of crimes and that is happening. And the other, of course, is for them to make a decision whether to send their kids to those schools. And if so, to think about how to protect themselves with the kind of information that they have about what's going on in their particular campus. Um, the other mandate of the Clery Act was for school administrators and officials to provide safety measures against the occurrence of those acts based on the provisions or based on the database that they created for the kinds of and types of crimes that are occurring. And so we have seen that campus shooting is something that has become of a problem in our culture or in our society, starting with the most shocking one, which is the Columbine shooting. And
Mm-hmm.
then we had the Sandy Hook shooting, and these are all happening in elementary and high school grounds. But we never had this magnitude of an incident in college campuses. So it's our first time, and now we are thinking about another solution to it, which they said was about gun control. And there are two fundamental issues that we are facing when it comes to gun issues in the United States. The first one is, of course, the Second Amendment right under the Constitution, where it has been interpreted by the Supreme Court that the Second Amendment right is a fundamental individual right instead of the simple right of the state to form a militia for its defense. And therefore, it's very hard to come up with a gun control measure that would hopefully address campus shootings or school shootings because of these Second Amendment rights. The other thing relates to the nature of campuses in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Compared to other countries, they seem to have a more walled campus, and there's more security surrounding entry into the premises of the campuses for instance, in the Philippines, right? But in the United States, there tends to be an open environment where
Mm-hmm.
anybody can come in. And in fact, the buildings are not subjected to security measures. You can enter and exit without the necessary scrutiny that accompanies something like a safety measure. So those are two fundamental problems that we have, particularly because it involves the infringement of one's rights under the Constitution. And the second, of course, is a privacy issue that may occur when you have very strict screening provided. But that's not something that cannot be overcome, because even the
Right.
United States Supreme Court has said that there might be a legitimate screening process in special cases or schools, and is included in one of those premises that can have these screening procedures without necessarily violating your right to privacy. And so my suggestion is that, or as a policy issue, there are several things that we can do. One is to, perhaps be more or less open in the campus environment, meaning you put up walls, you put up security screeners, put up metal detectors in entrances and of the buildings. The other thing can be have a more open campus carry. Right now, there are 150 colleges and universities, as I said, that have open carry or campus carry laws. Now, the problem there is that there are so many restrictions to the campus carry that it's practically sometimes impossible for someone to carry their weapons on campus. For instance, they cannot bring it into the sporting arena.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot bring those into a classroom where there is an underage individual, meaning about below 18 in campuses, or they cannot bring it into the meeting rooms with professors and professors' offices and so on. So practically, there is a campus carry, but in reality, if you are trying to make good people use their weapons as a self-defense, then it defeats that purpose because they cannot really carry their weapons somewhere else. So just as no campus carry is a dangerous one for deterrence purposes, it's also as equally dangerous where you have so many restrictions on it. So it's either you have a real open campus carry where everybody can carry their weapons everywhere, right? Or, you totally ban the carrying of weapons on campus, but you need to have a screening of people that come in. And I can relate to you some of my experiences regarding the control of violence on campus, because I was once a director for the student affairs in a school or in a university in the Philippines. And in there, we instituted measures that we screen everyone and every vehicle that tries to enter into the university. So we have metal detectors. We have rules that there should be a showing of your identification that you are a legitimate member of the student community. And if you are a visitor, that you need to be registered or checked as a visitor of that particular campus before you can be allowed to get in. So with that, with inspections, with screenings, with identifications, you can eliminate the potential carrying of deadly weapons by unauthorized or non-legitimate members of the community within your campus. And that eliminated, in my experience, some of the problems that we had regarding the violence on campus. So that's one, all right? But they should go hand in hand. If you still want to impose the right of individual to carry the weapons, then you should have one, an absolute campus carry, or two, you should have a strict campus screening of everybody, and you don't allow campus carry within your school. And it's been decided in Supreme Court cases that there are certain spaces where you cannot bring in a weapon, just like you cannot bring in a weapon in airports, right? And you cannot bring weapons in school and church gatherings, sports arena, whenever, and these are private entities already. You go into a football game, for instance. There are several measures that they have so that you don't carry contrabands and illegal weapons. One is that there is a metal detector, right? There is an explosive detector. There are even sometimes dogs in the arenas that they have. And very recently, they have been implementing what they call as a clear plastic bag container.
Clear
right?
bag policy.
Yeah, clear policy that is really meant to protect the public. So I don't know how much of an extent we can avoid these problems, but we can see that we can avoid some of these school shootings or mass shootings that's happening if we can be more strict on the entry of these illegal weapons.
Do you
Uh,
think that's doable even with when you're dealing with a public university, for example, when everybody it's supposed to be accessible to the public, which is probably one of the challenges that we are facing. Michigan State University is a public university, and do you think putting in those types of um, stricter protocols, I suppose, um, will be an issue for accessibility?
I don't think it will be an issue. High schools already have them.
That's
They,
true.
yeah, in the United States, they restrict the entry of individuals by making them go through with contrabands, by making them go through some of these security measures, correct? And they also have like automatic shutdowns of their doors and so on when it happens. So I don't think it is a big issue to have or to create that what we call bubble, right?
Mm.
If we want to call it, we put some of these campus premises in a certain bubble that no contrabands or no one with a legitimate uh, excuse or no legitimate business with the university can be able to go into the university and meant to do harm.
Um, and of course, there is the financial aspect of putting in those safeguards like metal detectors or additional cameras, right? That would be there would need to be some investment, particularly toward campus or toward public universities to make those things happen. But do you think it's worth it?
Well, every life is worth it. Um, Particularly that we now have incidents of this type, and we see now how vulnerable students are in the halls of learning and in the campus premises. So I think it's about time we need to invest on our security. The experiences across the world says that when you have heightened security, you lessen the tragic incidents like this. And unfortunately, there is a still that moral debate about and weighing of restrictions of your freedom over your right
Right.
and and your safety as an individual in society. But practically the state can have that power, right? Because you have to remember there is what we call as the inherent power of the state to promote public health, public safety, and public morals. So they can ban some of these things and they can control some of these things in the interest of public morals, public health, and public safety. Just look at what happened in COVID situations, right? Where you're not allowed to fly without a mask. You're
Mhm.
not allowed. So it's basically curtailing your right to travel, right? And it's even a universal human right to travel, right? But
Right.
they say you cannot, and so that I think is not a big issue legally, as of course, uh, as a barrier to some of the more stringent security measures that we can put in place on campus. And no doubt it's going to be a what we might call as a culture shock, right? Because you're really changing the culture of universities uh,
Absolutely. It's
when you
quite
colleges when you do this, where there is an openness, right, to everything from your person to ideas, right? Now you are restricting some of these actions on your campus. So we can get through it, but it's not gonna be, I think, pretty in the short term. But there we can avoid some of these major heartaches that we have right now regarding safety measures or safety on campuses.
And then, of course, if you're a parent, you would want those safeguards in place. I would imagine. You're sending your kids to college.
Yeah.
That we're talking about currently is particularly in a college setting, and you'd probably feel a little bit better. I mean, currently, I would imagine all, at least public universities, have some sort of a police force,
Yeah.
right? Um, but and I know they patrol the campus, and there are some cameras already installed. Um, and and I think it's the matter. We're talking about additional measures that could screen people coming in and out of the entire campus itself.
Yeah, well, those kinds of things like cameras are what we call as investigative tools, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can pinpoint who's responsible and who is at fault by looking at those cameras, but they're not really preventive tools. Just as scanner or metal detectors, bomb detectors, sniffing dogs, those are all preventative measures. So what we need on campuses right now is a preventive measure. Now, campus carry is also good as long as there has to be some sort of, I would say, less restrictions, because if you leave your if you carry it and you go to another hall and you don't carry it, it renders the law and the preventive aspect of the law a little bit weak.
Mm.
And of course, perpetrators know this. If they are really aware of what the rules are regarding campus carry, they know that no one should be carrying weapons inside a basketball court, right? And so if they want, and there's a lot of people there, so if they want to create massacres in there, they can, right? So I think we need to strengthen some of our institutional barriers, target hardening measures in some of our institutions. Like
Mm.
in Colorado, the mass shooter, right? In the movie house in Colorado could not have done it if we had a more strict screening procedures for people entering theaters, right? But right now, a lot of people can sneak in to different movie houses. So,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
if you go to other countries where before you can even go to their mall or premises in their movie houses, you have to go through a thorough screening. They even have a pat down
Mm.
in some of these areas, and I know it's sometimes shocking and violative, so to speak, of people's rights, but there has to be a balance that we need to do.
Especially with, again, more shootings occurring, it seems like,
Mhm.
recently. Um, and I add to that, though, the importance of drills. So also of the trainings, right? The run, hide, and fight training, for example, maybe to just help people know what to do in situations such as those things. Again, those things are not perfect either, because every case is different, but um, some form of training could help. I mean, you never know what might come in handy in an emergency situation.
Yeah, it is a challenge right now, and we need to be open to ideas that we have never tried before. Um,
Hmm.
um, and we should put a premium on the safety of our campus community, uh, and the rights of people in general to
Yeah,
carry arms, and uh, we need to restrict them in some ways in some spaces, including campuses and universities. Um, we are very vulnerable. I am now I've been working in a university for several decades, and I can see how potentially it can become a dangerous place because of one, the camp climate has become hostile in some situations.
mm-hmm.
The environment that we are in has become more violent in certain situations, and therefore we should be more resolved in addressing some of these problems.
I completely agree. And that's a great insight that you just provided. So, um, really appreciate that. And I wanted to see what are some of the final, I guess, final words you might have.
Um, only the only solution to this problem, I believe, if we want to alleviate this issue, is harden campuses. That's one. Uh, make them a hard target for penetration as well as for perpetrations of these acts. So inspection is necessary, uh, removal of or elimination of contraband is necessary, right? For legitimate campus goers, probably we should have a more open campus carry, uh, not very restrictive campus carry for defensive purposes. Um, that's one way we can alleviate greater casualties if there is a motivated offender who will commit that act and who happens to be a legitimate gun owner too,
Mm.
and member of the campus community. It wouldn't be like our campus population or our students and faculty are sitting ducks when this happened, because we restricted the rights that they have to carry weapons on campus. So maybe we can have that, right? Before they can bring in their car, they need to fall in line, have their car inspected, right? Look at if there's a weapon in there, they would declare it and look at their legitimate right to carry that weapon on campus, and then you can make them come in, right? That's
Mhm.
what happens in most places or that are protected. Even federal buildings do that. Even Capitol buildings do that,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And these are
Mhm.
all buildings. So why not in a situation like a university
A college campus. Yeah. Yeah.
campus?
That's a good point. That's a really good point, and lots to think about and ponder. I want to see what our audience members think about this issue, and particularly some of those ideas that were presented today. If you have a comment, please leave them below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.
Uh,
Is there anything else we want to say before we close?
that's it for now, and we just want to condole and say our prayers for those that have been victims, as well as those that have been vicariously victimized, especially those that will be traumatized by this incident. So even if they were not, they didn't suffer injury, the psychological impact of having somebody on your campus, experience something like this is a real tragic one, which can be avoidable or can be mitigated if we just exercise more caution and restriction.
Definitely, our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone affected, and um, hope we can take the next steps to do something about this issue, because I think our society definitely needs it. So thank you all. Please, again, like and subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you so much for joining us today, and see you next time.
Yes, until next time. See ya. Bye-bye.